Fujifilm X-T5, the story and the review behind this camera after 1 year of use. Did Fujifilm keep their promise? Did Fujifilm made one of their best cameras with X-T5? Let's talk about my story and my 1 year long experience with Fujifilm X-T5. Hi there, Tudor Matescu here. I have here Fujifilm X-T5 and I've bought it because I've believed in the Fujifilm story and because I am a Fujifilm fanboy. I'm liking very much what Fujifilm is doing or what Fujifilm was doing because I found out some interesting stuff after buying this camera and after using this camera for almost a year. So a year in November 2023. So I want to share with you my experience with X-T5, what I don't like and what I like about this camera, because this camera, it's a camera that I love, but I'm also hating it. There are some problems here and Fujifilm made some mistakes. So let's get into the subject. So the first thing that I want to address is that Fujifilm didn't keep their promise. They said that they will have a new X-T5 camera with great AF. Well, after the launch, after buying this camera, the AF wasn't great at all. It was just showing on the screen that I had the subject in focus, the eye in focus, and the subject wasn't in focus, the eye wasn't in focus. The problem was resolved after 6 months. So this is a problem. We are not talking about a Chinese brand new camera company. We are talking about Fujifilm. So a big problem, and I don't like that. Why I've paid something in advance and get that something after 6 months. And we'll get to the AF part immediately, but this is a thing that I must really address here. So a big problem, they didn't keep their promise regarding the AF accuracy and the AF speed in the first 6 months of launching this camera. The problems were resolved just after 6 months. The next con, it's a very interesting con because it's a paradox. It's about the 40 megapixel sensor. Well, this sensor, it's a great sensor, an excellent sensor. Again, another paradox here. So why I'm not liking it at this chapter, and I will tell you a little bit later why I'm liking it. But at this chapter, why I'm not liking the 40 megapixel sensor. Well, I am hating the 40 megapixel sensor because I don't have the lenses for this sensor. This sensor made almost all my Fujifilm lenses obsolete. They aren't resolving the 40 megapixel sensor for my eyes. When I'm pixel peeping, the image doesn't look great with the 80mm f2, with the 35mm f2, with the 27mm f2.8, with the kit zoom lens, the 16 to 80mm f4. And so on. So with all the Fujifilm old lenses, the image doesn't look great. It looks great just with the 50mm f2 lens that I have. So I feel that the 50mm f2, it's resolving the sensor. The 35mm f2, it is so and so. And the only lens that is resolving the sensor and is giving me good image quality, it is the brand new 80mm f1.4 from Fujifilm. So a heavy lens, an expensive lens. So this adds to the problem because if you knew Fujifilm as a small capable system that will offer you great image quality, now Fujifilm, it's another system if you want to use the 40 megapixel sensor. That also, yes, it's greater than the 26 megapixel sensor, but with the right lenses. So the only lens that is satisfying my pixel peeping needs, or again, I'm not just pixel peeping, I'm looking at a picture and I'm going to zoom in the picture, and I'm shocked by the image quality with normal standard Fujifilm lenses because the lenses don't resolve the 40 megapixel sensor, and not just the lenses that Fujifilm listed on their website. So this means if you have an X-T5, you must wait who knows how many years till Fujifilm will upgrade the small lenses. So this is a problem, a big problem. If you really want to enjoy and if you really paid money for the 40 megapixel sensor, you really need to take in consideration that you need to buy the new lenses. So with the new lenses, no problems. Now, another thing that I want to address regarding this 40 megapixel sensor is the X-Trans. Well, this, I think it will be the subject of another great video, why X-Trans is great and why X-Trans is not. But long story short, they launched GFX with a bare sensor. If you take the X-Trans sensor, so this camera, and you set the sharpness to +5 on your X-T5, you'll get the wormy artifacts in the JPEG that Fujifilm is taking from the raw file, from your X-T5, so not the JPEG that I will edit in Capture One or in Lightroom. So the X-Trans sensor has big problems when it comes to raw file editing, so I really do prefer a bare sensor here. But regarding JPEG, this is the advantage side, the JPEGs are great. So X-Trans is great for JPEGs, but it's not something that you want to hassle if you are a raw file shooter. So for a camera dedicated to professional, but again, no grip, no extra grip, a bare sensor for a 40 megapixel sensor, I think it would have been a better choice, a more logical choice. But if you want to shoot JPEG and your photography is based on Fujifilm JPEGs that are extraordinary, we'll get to that part immediately, then the X-Trans is okay. But you must have in mind that with the raw files, it will be harder to work on, even if you use Capture One and all kinds of software. Again, the Fujifilm engine, if you set it to +5 sharpness, will render the wormy artifacts. I've made this test, made it yourself, and zoom in on those JPEGs. Next, well, this was my first shock when I bought X-T5. I was a big user of X Pro 3. Metal build, the dials were metal, very good at touch. And when I put my hand on X-T5, I was shocked. The dials are so plasticky, are so light, are so cheap. It's incredible. So I'm totally not liking the build quality of the dials, but there is another problem, lots of users reporting build quality issues, not just at touch. So EVF coating peeling, problems with the screen, my screen was squeaking, was making some noises, now it doesn't make any more those noises, and also some users had problems with the dials, with the shutter dials, and so on. So problems that should not exist here. I understand that X Pro 3 has the screen problem, and this was it, but come on, at this age and at this time in moment, after years of making cameras, we aren't able to make dials that we can count on. It's incredible. So build quality issues that you must take in consideration regarding also the price. Now the next con for this X-T5 is that if you want a camera light to take it with you as an everyday kit, this body is not comfortable for me. I would have wanted a smaller body, like X-T32, like X-T4, like X Pro 3, a little smaller, a little slimmer, a little easier to take with you. It's okay with these small lenses, but again, the small lens doesn't resolve the sensor. And when you are getting home and you are zooming into that picture, you'll be shocked. But if you zoom in just at 66%, it will be okay. But at 100% with 80mm f2, with 27mm f2, with the kit zoom lens, it will not be okay. And the package, the kit zoom lens with this body, is very heavy. So regarding size and weight and price, I can't justify this package. I can't justify it. With any Micro Four Thirds camera like OMD M10 Mark III, I will get the same results regarding image quality. Again, this lens, it's for a 24-26 megapixel sensor. It's not for a 40 megapixel sensor. And you will sell it as a kit with this camera. It doesn't make sense. So where are we? Again, Doesn't make sense. Let's be serious here. I hoped I would be okay. I will not pixel peep. And again, I'm not pixel peeping, but I'm just zooming in just a little to see I have the picture in sharp focus or not. And wow, it's a shock when looking at pixel level because the lens doesn't resolve the sensor. Now the next big con that I don't like about X-T5 is the ergonomics. I feel that the X-T5 has the worst ergonomics that I was able to find on a Fujifilm camera. I am so into the settings when I'm going out and shooting that it's terrible. So if I want to take with me two lenses, let's say I want to take with me the 35mm f1.4 and the 80mm f1.4. So a magic lens, a portraiture lens, but also a wide lens, a new lens. For this lens I must make some settings to have the AF right, and for this lens I must make other settings. It's working with IAF and so on. So totally different settings for two lenses. And if I will change them, I need to change the settings. Okay, but this is not enough. Depending on what Q slot I'm using, the settings will be saved or it will not be saved, because now the Q slots are saving also the AF settings, the IAF and other in-camera menu settings. So it's a pain, a totally pain to shoot with Fujifilm X-T5, depending on your Q slots. So to have the right experience, I must not use the Q slots. Before X-T5, like on cameras like X Pro 3 or XE4, even XE4, I know that XE4 is saving some settings, but it was simpler. It didn't save the menu settings and all other settings, so I was with the AF or with the RAW file where I wanted. And on older cameras I can save just the film simulation recipes, but now I can save the AF and other menu settings. But also I can customize on the Q slot to save the settings if I'm changing the settings while I am shooting, or not to save the settings. But if I'm not saving the settings and while I'm shooting I'm changing the settings and closing the camera and opening the camera, my settings are gone. So it's a pain. It's a totally pain. I didn't had this pain with X Pro 3, with XE4, a little with XE4 because from that firmware they started to change, but with X100V, with XE2S and so didn't have this pain. So this is more logical, more good ergonomics on older cameras. On X-T5, if you forget about your settings and if you use multiple cameras, and again other Fujifilm cameras, not talking about a Sony camera, then you must pay lots of attention. And if you didn't pay attention, you must go into the menu, make the settings and start shooting. So I'm wasting lots of time when I'm going out with this camera to make the settings, even if we have all these buttons and all these wheels and all these customization controls. They are too much. They are making the camera to feel a pain when you are going out and shoot. I'm more with a Sony camera, it's easier. I'm just setting it up once and point and shoot, or with other older Fujifilm cameras. So a totally pain regarding ergonomics. This is my definite opinion. Now let's talk about the pros. Why I like about this camera, why I keep shooting it after so many cons. So, regarding the pros, the 40 megapixel sensor, it's a pro. It's a great sensor, it renders great color, you have great sharpness, great structure, great texture, great clarity, great tonality compared to the other Fujifilm cameras, to the X Pro 3 sensor, to the X-T4 sensor. But when I'm comparing it and looking at files with the newer sensor from X-H2S, the differences are pretty small. Yes, the sensor is sharper. You are able to see more details, more sharpness, but not by much, like 10%. So you get that boost and you get the tonality, but I don't know what Fujifilm did. They were able to keep some of those tonalities in the smaller sensor, the 26 megapixel sensor. So this is very important. You get better, but not by much. I feel 10-50% depending on the scene and on the light. So better, but again, with the newer f1.4 lenses, with lenses that are resolving the sensor, that aren't out there too much lenses. We can count them on fingers. Next, great film simulations. I'm feeling that with this camera I'm getting so much film simulations. You can get so much recipes, so much effects in JPEG. So great JPEGs. I've took the JPEGs, I've printed them. Great, so great JPEGs. Next, AF. The AF is much better. Yes, it's not at the level of a Sony camera. Yes, it will give you some frustration in street photography, where there are fast-moving subjects, where there are scenes that you can't anticipate. But for wedding photography, for event photography, for low-pace street photography, this will do the job. The AF is much better than other Fujifilm cameras. Compared to X-T5, I would say that like 20-30% better. What I can say is that with the 35mm f1.4, I can shoot very confident now. I will not miss focuses with this combo. So this is a huge thing. With X-T5 you'll miss some shots, but with this being low light, being good light, it will do the job. So the AF, it's a big step forward for Fujifilm. But if you've managed to use a Sony APS-C camera like A6400 or Sony A7C, then this will be under a lot. It will do the job, but it's under. This is it. But for Fujifilm, it's a big step forward. So yes, I want this AF on other cameras too. Another great advantage here, another amazing advantage here is that this camera, it's a beast of a video camera. Lots of users are not talking about the X-T5 as a video camera. Well, as a video camera, I'm starting to feel that it's even better than as a photography camera. You get such good footage, such good color, such deep colors, and you can have the JPEG simulations synchronized to the video simulations. And I don't know why they didn't put a Q menu for video, for color, for video recipes. But regarding video, amazing quality. You can eat from the footage that you get from this camera. So amazing video quality. I'm more thrilled regarding the video quality than regarding the JPEGs. Yes, I'm more thrilled because wow. But the problem is that because the video quality is incredible, it will eat a lot of resources from your computer, so it's not fun for me to make B-rolls with this camera. Even if I'm getting one of the best B-rolls regarding color, IBIS and so on, in the end it doesn't matter for online videos. It doesn't matter. Just me and some advanced user will be able to realize the quality of the footage, and again where the services are compressed. But regarding video quality, great, really great, really great. And yes, the video quality is working with any lens because it's video, so huge advantage regarding video files here. And for a vlogging tool in studio, again I would say good advantage. It's not overheating. I didn't have problems to shut down on me. I didn't record hours, just short YouTube videos, but I didn't have the X-T5 problems, and I've heard that the XS20 it will overheat, so you need to buy the fan. So for video, really great, and I'm really liking how you can switch from video to photo. A great job, a great job regarding video. Again, from my point of view, even better than regarding photos. Another thing that I love is that I have lots of crop factors, and you can play with all those crop factors, 4:3, 4:5, but we don't have the X-Pan. They could have put the X-Pan crop factor, but they didn't put it, so why? To add something there that will make user thrilled. Another thing that I want to address is that this camera, I think it's great for a wedding photographer, for an event photographer that doesn't want to stay to edit files. You can get some amazing JPEGs. You really don't need to edit the files. I've managed to make some pictures at a small event, and amazing. You really don't need to edit the JPEGs. You really don't need to edit the exposure. Just if you mess it up a little, but then it's a simple click from the menu, correct your exposure, select the pictures, and you are done. I've printed also the JPEGs on great paper, and no problems. I just exported the JPEGs with glossy sharpness from Adobe Lightroom, and the image on paper, it popped amazing, amazing. So great for this, it's really great.
And by the way, I have a special newsletter dedicated to the passionate photographer. So if you want to learn more about photography tips, tricks, and all kinds of useful information for free, please subscribe to my newsletter, link in the comments and description.
Let's get to the conclusion now. I feel that I would loved more this camera if they would have put here a smaller sensor. They weren't prepared for the 40 megapixel sensor. They weren't prepared. They didn't have the AF. They didn't have the AF like on X-H2S. They developed the AF after 6 months. That again is not at the level of X-H2S. The sensor is not working with their main lineup of lenses. So you don't have lenses for photography. So how they can call this a camera dedicated to photography if you don't have lenses that will resolve the 40 megapixel sensor? So this was one of their biggest mistakes regarding this camera. They should have put the 26 megapixel sensor in X-T5 from my point of view. If the 26 megapixel sensor was here, I'm betting that I was satisfied, because my main dissatisfaction is the image quality when looking on my computer. Yes, when looking on the JPEGs, it's okay. When looking entirely, it's okay. But also, we will zoom in just for 1 second. And if you zoom in just for 1 second, and you will have the shock that will tell you, wow, the image is not in focus, then you must zoom out a little to 66%, and you will say, okay, it's in focus, but the lens is not resolving the sensor. This is not okay. The experience, the end experience of the user is not okay. It's okay, how I've said, with this lens. And don't worry, is no user error here. Also, you must have in mind ergonomics. I feel that the firmware update regarding the ergonomics of the menu, especially not of the buttons, regarding buttons, dials and wheels, we are okay if they will function. But regarding the menu, the Q slots, where they are wanting to take this is not okay. Keep the Q slots like before, or make something that the user will know how to operate this camera, because if a Q slot will transform your camera in another totally different camera and you have 7 Q slots, and when you are adjusting, it's not okay. So for the moment, the firmware and the ergonomics of the menu, it's not okay. So for who is this camera? It's for street photography. I would say that it can be for street photography if you are okay with this downside, like the fact that the old Fujifilm lenses will not resolve the 40 megapixel sensor. I thought I will be okay with this, because I'm not a pixel people in general, but when I'm looking at pixel level, I have this dissatisfaction and I'm not able to get over it. I'm not able to get over it. Any other camera that has the lens paired with the sensor, it's okay. It's not bothering me. But this is bothering me. This is a problem here. But if you're a wedding photographer and even photographer, and you plan to use this camera with bigger lenses and dedicated lenses for the 40 megapixel sensor, I think that you'll be very satisfied. The new lenses will resolve the 40 megapixel sensor. The new lenses will bring great image quality and will bring great AF, so you'll have no problems. But for someone who is using a camera like this for hobby, for travel, for family, I will not recommend this camera. I will wait for X-T50 if it will come in the future, who knows, or for X-T32. That I think is one of their best cameras regarding ergonomics. You have the X-T4 firmware, you have a tilt screen without the bug from the Fujifilm X-T4, and it's a small camera that will deliver in all these situations. So in the future, I'm waiting to see Fujifilm will bring on the market the X-T50 or another small camera with a 26 megapixel sensor. I will not go anymore to a 40 megapixel sensor. Fujifilm is not prepared for this sensor. It's not prepared, and I, as a user, I'm not prepared. So even if I would have all the budget in the world, I want small lenses, light lenses for this camera. I'm not okay with the newer lenses. if I will make money from this and this, doing wedding, pro photography, then this is another story. But for a hobbyist, for a traveler, for a street photographer, for a family photographer, the small package from Fujifilm, it's a great package. I want that. So, for me, the only solution is to downgrade to the 26 megapixel sensor. I will not look to the XS20. I've made the video why. Please, you can check it here. So this is my conclusion. This is what I love and not love about Fujifilm X-T5. It could have been a great camera, but it's clearly a project. It's not a mature product because you don't have the lenses that will resolve this sensor if you are a traveler, a street photographer, or a family photographer where size and weight is important for you. So if size and weight for traveling, for this kind of activity is important for you, then the older Fujifilm camera, or if you are okay with a flip screen, the XS20, it's the right choice. But if you want the 40 megapixel sensor, you really need to think very, very well if you will use just the new prime lenses, the new great lenses from Fujifilm. Now, please subscribe to my channel, check my affiliate links, and check the next video. Click here right now.